Now, I know this should go without saying, but there are obviously going to be major spoilers in this video for Avengers Endgame, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, please do yourself a favor and don't watch this until after you have. And what this video is going to be is a rather informal discussion between myself and my fiancé about the movie, though yes, I will probably do more videos in the future delving into certain aspects of the film, but for now this will be a general overview, and since I already gave my non-spoiler review the other day, I'm going to let my fiancée, and she goes by the name Sailor Naboo here on YouTube, tell us overall what she thought.
Overall, I'm definitely going to say that I enjoyed the movie. This was the fastest 3 hours I've sat through in a long time. I enjoyed just overall. I had a good time with it. It was fun. My parents have seen it as well, and they both came out feeling positively. There were some aspects I can generally say I did not like, but the good definitely outweighed the bad in the movie for me. It was fun. I will see it again in the theater. Definitely going to do that. That was enjoyable.
Well, in my review I said that there are some forgivable mistakes in the movie, and a lot of people jumped down my throat saying this is the perfect movie. I really don't think it is. And unpopular opinion, I think I enjoyed Infinity War a little bit better than this movie.
Oh, I can agree with that. I think I enjoyed Infinity War more as well.
I think what really worked with, I mean, this movie is great for what it is. It is the end game. It is the end of this huge phase of the MCU. But I think Infinity War was a better movie overall. And don't get me wrong, Infinity War is one of the best movies ever in my opinion. So when I say that's better, it's really not an insult.
Well, looking at this movie as a culmination of the entire MCU from beginning to, of course, here the Endgame, there were some aspects that just disappointed me. I mean, we've watched these characters grow and change over time, as was in your series before now, and then some of them had an end that was fitting, it was an end. But some of the characters changed in just totally random, unexpected ways that just didn't seem to fit with the character we've grown to love. That's where I would rate it downwards.
Are you referring to Jake Odinson, as you called him?
Yes, my boy Jake Odinson, who, like
used to be Thor?
used to be Thor before he decided to go on an alcoholic binge drinking rampage that made him worse than he was in the first Thor movie.
Oh yeah, he's had such a weird arc as a character. I mean, that first movie kind of established him as this, I don't want to say King Thor quite yet, but we saw a progression. We saw him rising, and along the way somehow they realized that this character can be very funny, and Chris Hemsworth has a lot to do with that, and they just latched onto it and embraced it. And in this movie they just went all in, even more so than Ragnarok, I would say.
Well, in Ragnarok, he still ended being the king of Asgard. I'm looking after my people. We're going to find a new home. We're going to settle down. I'm going to do what's right for these people. He goes through the events of Infinity War, and he's trying to get revenge. He has not had time to process the grief of losing.
It's the grief, and he made a mistake. I mean, he should have gone for the head.
He should have gone for the head.
I mean, he's responsible. I don't want to say responsible. That's the wrong word. But, if he had gone for the head, half the universe would still be alive.
True. I mean, there were other opportunities to stop that, but he considers the entire thing his fault, that he is the failure. But at the same time, he really shouldn't have taken all of the responsibility on himself. He shouldn't have. I mean, I can understand partial regression into a lazy good, but even after he got hope back, he just was dumb. He constantly, we didn't even see him drinking anymore. And he just, the whole time, sounded like he was a dumb drunk.
I honestly thought after he had the conversation with his mother, which kind of, fixed him a little bit, shall we say, that he was going to summon up Mjolnir and he would transform back into muscle-bound Hulk.
They could have given us a cute little fitness montage where he was getting in shape. Come on, the audience would have loved that. A little laugh as he's doing some bench presses with Stormbreaker.
This isn't Rocky IV. We don't need a training montage.
Oh, but that as a fan it would.
But I honestly thought the joke had pretty much run its course at that point, and not that they didn't really play off the joke so much, but hey, let's give the ladies,
not just the
Thor
ladies.
Back.
This was
I know.
No, this is this is the legacy of the entire culmination of the MCU. We have no idea if we're going to see him in the next movie.
I think he's going to be in Guardian. Why would they have done that?
But they took this character that we loved and they decided to just make him kind of gross, like a dirty, gross, like like a hobo.
You can
or
blame
something.
Thor: The Dark World for all this. People did not respond well to that movie, and then they realized people like the funny Thor, and we've had nothing but funny Thor
This is
since.
beyond the funny Thor. Even everyone seems to be griping about Thor.
I mean, I didn't like it. I mean, I thought it was funny at first, but then, like I said, it got old really fast. I'm like, okay, he's
we get it. He let himself
broken down,
go.
yeah.
But he can't stay that way. He just
No.
can't. That's not Thor anymore.
All right, let's now move on to Hulk, which we both kind of had some issues with too. And to be clear, there's a lot of things we love about this movie. And, just because we criticize certain aspects of it doesn't mean that the movie's terrible. It just means that we're going to focus on some of the things we don't like, and we're certainly going to talk about some of the things we do as we go down the road here.
First off, I feel like they killed Hulk.
Hulk wasn't in this movie.
No, Banner was in this movie. And he kind of made it sound like, oh, he and Hulk reconciled or something. No, they didn't.
No, they had this...
He killed Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk is gone.
Hulk is... Like, they had this kind of setup in Infinity War, which was interesting. Like, Hulk didn't want to help Banner anymore, because what does he get out of the deal? It kind of, I kind of thought we were going to see a collaboration somehow between the two. But that was just Banner and Hulk body. Like, it's almost like he just completely repressed Hulk. You can't tell me Hulk was okay with just sitting on the sidelines the whole time.
They said that they used to both have a hand on the wheel, and Hulk's now either sitting in the back seat or he got thrown out of the car.
Yeah, and I thought at the end, especially with Black Widow's death, something was going to trigger old Hulk to come back and he'd fight Thanos again, and he never does.
Well, what was sad is Hulk Banner had not just one, but two love stories.
Yeah, you pointed that out. I didn't even realize that.
It made me so sad. I mean,
neither one seemed to like
we're in the
combination.
future, and we know, Black Widow and Hulk see each other. Professor Hulk see each other again. They seem uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, she's obviously not happy with this road they took because she was in love with Banner.
Yeah, and Valkyrie loved Hulk.
And
so neither one of them...
Neither one was happy.
Yeah.
Valkyrie even said that she liked the other guy.
Yep.
I mean, so what was his reason for doing this?
I don't know. It was an odd choice because, he does the snap and he injures his arm, so he's not even partaking in the...
He doesn't even get to really battle.
I mean, he really... I really thought all 6 of the original Avengers should have been there against Thanos for that. When it was Cap, Thor, and Iron Man. I wanted all 6 to just have a couple...
just
even
that
a minute.
Moment.
Just that moment against him, yeah.
That moment you had in the original Avengers movie where they even showed you that moment. They reminded you of that moment, how beautiful it was with all 6 of them together, fighting as a team. And we did get all 6 of them in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean,
but
obviously
there was
they
no
killed...
big happy fight together thing where they were a
killed
team.
off Black Widow too early for that. And speaking of that, shall we move on to Black Widow? What did you think about the Black Widow Hawkeye?
I thought it was a little awkward. I thought this was the time I thought Hawkeye's gonna go, because Black Widow seems to have really made something of her life. She goes from having nothing, from having no family, no real identity of her own.
She became the leader of the Avengers, too. It seemed like Cap was, during the 5-year gap. Sorry to cut you off, but it seemed like Cap had he was starting to take a back seat, and Black Widow was really
She wasn't just leading the Avengers. She was helping piece the entire universe together.
Yeah, quite literally.
She was literally running point on keeping everything together to make sure that there was some sort of future for people. She was taking, she had her family. She had what she loved. She went out to find Hawkeye. She pretty much rescued him, too.
It was interesting, the different, because, you had Hawkeye who starts out as the good guy and kind of deteriorates into Ronin, and you had Black Widow who starts out kind of the Russian operative, and she becomes... So they had divergent paths.
She goes back and she saves him the way he once saved her.
Yeah.
And then she sacrificed herself.
I didn't understand that. Like, she was trying to... I would think that the one who wanted to attain the stone would have to give up the other person, not just have them jump off a cliff.
Right. This wasn't I have to give it up, because neither one of them really gave the other up by choice.
Yeah, I mean, if
you say you have to lose what you love.
True.
They didn't phrase it as you have to destroy it yourself. You just have to lose it. So she made the sacrifice, but he was willing to as well. And
it's interesting because is it the thing you love the most? Because it is Black Widow what Hawkeye loves the most? You would think it is his family, but his family is gone. So
I guess that she's all he's got now.
Yeah, it's an interesting scene. There's a lot of, I don't want to say problems with it, but questions that it raises.
A lot of high emotion.
Oh yeah, it was probably top 3 emotional scenes of the movie, which says something, because that was a pretty hard scene to watch. All right, how about we switch gears to Captain Marvel, which I'm sure everybody wants to hear our take on that.
I didn't mind. Honestly, I didn't... And I understand everyone has their own issues with her and her movie. I get it. But I try to look at things in a different manner, such as with the Captain Marvel movie. I look at it as this. If I was reading this as a book, Brie Larson's not in it. She's not an actor. I'm looking at Captain Marvel on the page, character, here's her dialogue, here's what she does. It was a good character. When I translation that into Endgame, it's still a good character. Is she a bit too powerful? Yeah. Unfortunately, she doesn't seem to have a kryptonite right now, and that is a shame.
She's totally shoehorned into the movie. Like, she doesn't feel like she has an actual place other than to show up at the beginning momentarily and to show up at the end momentarily.
And that's almost a good thing that she wasn't in the movie more.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad.
I mean, people were
that
terrified she was going to be the resolve of this movie, and she wasn't.
She's not. No, it's just I don't know. I personally, so far, the character has been very bland and boring. I know what you're saying about if I read it in a book, I guess I could give her more personality than she has on screen, but it's not a book. No,
it's not a book. But I'm saying, as far as being a character, it's fine. She's good. If you look at it that way,
if she's going to be the face of the MCU, they have issues. I'm not saying that because I hate Brie Larson. So far the character has not. She's had her own movie and she's had a snippet in this movie, and neither one was like, wow, can't wait to see more of this character.
So either A, we need a really talented writer.
Like, and she can act. Like,
she can act. She's been in other things. Yes.
And in this, she just is emotionless. And I don't know if that's the way she's trying to portray it, or
I don't know if she has trouble reconciling showing a character with strength with showing a character with emotional vulnerability.
Yeah, she's just. I mean, you almost get that sense if you've seen all the interviews with her and the other cast. You almost get the sense that she just doesn't want to show any vulnerability against these other characters. I don't know.
Honestly, this might sound a little weird, but think about how her character is. Her character goes from planet to planet, helping people, rescuing people, saving people. But does she really
She doesn't want to get emotionally attached,
anyone?
Too. I get what they're going for, but I don't think she just doesn't pull it off for me.
Right. Her identity to the universe is a hero. Someone who shows up and saves the day. This isn't Superman, Clark Kent. This is just Superman. Superman...
Well, she needs her Clark Kent.
She does. She doesn't have a Clark Kent. She doesn't have I go home at the end of the day and here's my real self, my real personality. I'm here with my friends. She's very standoffish because all she's got is a hero persona. She's got nothing else.
Yeah,
Marvel needs to work on.
They need to do something
as well as making sure that Brie can handle the duality of that type of role.
I mean, if they bring the X-Men into the MCU, which I'm assuming they will, because why don't you? They could go with the Rogue takes her power story. That'd be one hell of a way to humble the character. I'm not saying you come out of that right away, but
it could even lessen her powers to an extent to really help.
Either
it
lessen
could show
her, or make
her a vulnerability,
something, or make her appreciate them more. It's like she found them in her movie, and she's like, "Oh, this is cool. Now let me go be a hero." Like, oh, okay,
she's a hero. That's all she does now.
As
she said in the first movie, "What are you?" Oh, she's a Kree. I'm a warrior hero.
Yeah,
that's her persona. That's her whole life.
Try being a human
being. She needs to gain that human aspect to her, and I think that may have I don't want to give them any credit really, because I know some people hate Captain Marvel, but I think that may have been part of what they were going for, is that she does not have any humanity right now.
No, I don't.
She lost it when she lost her memory, and her new identity is I'm a warrior hero. That's what I am. That's what I do.
I don't hate Brie Larson. I don't hate Captain Marvel. She can hold whatever opinion she wants outside the movie, but in the movies so far, I am not impressed. It's that simple. And let's move on from this topic.
All right, I think we should move on to Nebula now.
All right.
I think if we would have realized what a big role she was going to have in this movie, we easily could have done one of the beginning to end games on her.
Yeah, who knew? I didn't realize. I mean, there were some people who speculated she might kill Thanos, and we'll get to the killing of Thanos later. But yeah, she was great in this movie.
Oh, wonderful. She really, gave you this cold cascade of emotion. Not only did Karen Gillan play current timeline
but she went back to
Nebula,
the old,
she also played younger Guardians of the Galaxy Nebula. And there's such a contrast between those two characters. It was so cool to see the range that she covered in that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Talented actress she is.
Very talented.
You really thought that was the original Nebula.
And I actually really appreciated how in, of course, the original Marvel timeline, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Gamora was the one who made peace with her reluctant sister. Gamora is the one who made the overtures to, no, Nebula, let's be friends, let's be sisters. And this one, we saw the opposite, where Gamora, we have Nebula reaching back to Gamora and saying, hey, you know what, we're sisters. We're on the same page. And it was just a cool duality to see her now reaching back, to see how much she missed her and how much she actually cherished their relationship.
And speaking of killing Thanos, which I said we were going to talk about,
We're not there
what
yet,
did you what did you think about Thanos' end in the first 15 minutes of the movie? Does it bother you that the Thanos in the finale is not our Thanos or their Thanos?
I
Thank
thought
God we
that
don't have a Thanos.
killing him in the first 15 minutes or so of the movie just felt anticlimactic. It felt too easy. And I get that this Thanos was older.
He didn't care anymore.
He was
done.
older. Not older, but he was beat up. I mean, he was already... His arm was in a rough state. He didn't have any armor on. He didn't seem to care.
I think that's interesting because it plays into the character who was really just doing it to balance. He didn't care about where, being the king of the universe or something crazy. He just wanted to balance things, and when he did that, he was done. I mean, he blows up the stones, and then the Avengers showed up, and he just was like, fine, whatever.
It could have partially also been because of the ramifications of sacrificing Gamora.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to live for personally anymore.
No, Gamora was his future.
Because he did say he wanted her to sit on the throne.
Yeah.
So at one point, it did seem like he cared about his own endgame, if you will.
Yeah, and his
Terrible
endgame
pun.
without Gamora, he didn't even have a plan anymore.
No, he was done.
He was just finished.
All right, let's now move on to Cap and Iron Man. The only two characters that I think had any kind of real story arc within the actual movie itself. I think everybody else was just finishing their story arc or starting a new one, if you will.
Right. I was kind of sad about the fact that it seemed after they defeated the Thanos by lopping his head off at the beginning of the first 15 minutes of the movie, he seemed to take a back seat. I mean, Black Widow seemed a little surprised when he showed up, when she was kind of leading the world and keeping everything together. And then he just was leading recovery groups and trying to help people move on a personal note, but he was no longer acting as like the leader of the Avengers.
No, and that's why I think he was able to go back in time and live his life. That's why, when we see him on that park bench, that was the result of a man who had just given everything he had, and now he had earned his life.
He did earn his life, and he did get to sit comfortable in the fact that knowing that the future was in good hands.
Yeah, he knew how everything would turn out in the end. I know a lot of people have, well, how could he sit back and let all these terrible events happen? But if he had even tried to impact them, he may have made things worse. He knew in the end, way down the road, it was all going to work out.
Right. I mean, he even told old man Steve at the end, told Sam, I did some of that living my life here, you told me to do.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, and that was what he needed to do.
Yeah, and I thought it was a beautiful ending, and we're gonna do a different video. I think we've talked a lot about the time travel in this movie, and I'd like to make a separate video just discussing that.
We might tap on it, but that's probably it.
Yeah, even that. I mean, it's simplistic and confusing at the same time, which doesn't make any sense. But so I'm probably not going to talk about that much here. Going to delve into that in a different video because I think we have a pretty sound theory of how it actually works in this.
I think we came up with something. It just took like 3 days of endless discussion.
That's literally when we've been talking
endless
about
discussion.
The most.
There were blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yeah, I drew up
charts.
some charts. I think that actually could be a deterrent for the movie, though, is making the time travel so
it's hard to do time travel right
to understand that I think
when
like you walk out and the whole time you're just thinking of not how good the movie is and what you enjoyed, you're thinking of how it worked for the time thing. I think that could be a deterrent for people.
I could, but I think a lot of people are just going to let it go.
It was upsetting me until we've kind of figured out what we figured out. Let's say that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to a new topic here, or just talk about Iron Man. Which I thought was going to happen with Iron Man. I thought he was going to have to choose between his daughter and fixing reality. That's what I thought they were going to set up. Because I thought originally they would fix it where the snap had never happened, perhaps.
But I loved that he stuck with his guns and was like, no. This has to happen because he loved his family.
Yeah.
He absolutely was in love with his family.
Yeah, he said if we're going to do this, the people who
were
born in the 5 years since. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's one of the weird things is, you were much better off to be snapped away than you were to have survived the snap. Yeah. Because how many people died in that 5 year time period? How many people died as a result of the snap. It's crazy when you think about it.
It is, and it's kind of like something that I'm worried that they may have to deal with later.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to deal with it going forward in the MCU, because it causes so many different issues that, when you really stop and think about it, you're like, wow, like...
It only brought back the people that Thanos snapped. But let's say I was on a plane and my pilots got snapped, and as a result of that, I'm obviously no longer alive, but the snap didn't get rid of me. So I stay dead.
Yeah, you stay
dead. Which is horrible.
And the fun part is, like, what happened to the pilot of the plane who got snapped away? Where does he return at?
Hopefully at
not
ground level.
30,000 feet in the air. But, there's so many things when you really think about it. Like, how many, if you lost your whole, you're a Hawkeye, you lost your whole family,
You can't
how many
deal
people
with the grief.
Yeah, you killed yourself. You couldn't deal it. You couldn't handle with it, which is terrible. But, somebody did. And then for the lost, the people who were vanished, they come back a moment later and find out that the one they loved killed themselves. It's so horrible.
Got a lot of very horrible ramifications if you really want to, piece by piece, think about how things could have gone.
Yeah, the Avengers won, but but did they?
There were so many more ramifications to bringing back the people that were snapped than just bringing back the people who were snapped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there were just the snap happening killed so many people.
But
and I'm not talking about the one who vanished. I'm talking about
there was got to be a wash of people afterwards who were just in circumstances that losing that other person destroyed their lives, not just in one fashion, but others. And we even had a little joke going on of, you and your husband, you're married, you're happy, your wife got snapped away. Now in this 5-year time, you've had to come to terms with what has happened and that they're not getting them back. So you find love again, and you get remarried, and then poof, your wife is back. Yeah. I do not want to be a lawyer in the future. There is going to be some ramifications there.
Much, yeah. And it'd be curious if they touch on that at all, or if they'll just kind of like, well, everything kind of just...
I think they're just going to wash over that because it's too much to deal with. It's probably things that they didn't even right off the bat consider.
No, because the true ramifications would be just endless of that actually happening. And now should we actually talk about Iron Man?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were going to be talking about. Yeah, Iron Man not wanting to lose what he had. So his character arc was so interesting because, remembering him from the very first Iron Man, you never thought he's going to settle down, he's going to have a family, he's going to move somewhere remote and quiet. He was, he wasn't that guy.
No.
And now the fact that he would do anything to make sure that he does not lose his daughter, his family, his life. It's heartwarming. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I thought both Cap and Iron Man had the best resolutions in this story, the best overall arcs, and just it's beautiful. It was so sad when when Doctor Strange holds up the one. This is the one reality, and you're like, oh, that's why he gave up the Time Stone, because Thanos needed to win and Iron Man needed to be saved, and you piece it all together and you realize, oh,
this is
Iron Man
moment.
Has to die, to die to save everything. That's why it all played out.
It's why it's rough, very rough.
But beautiful. I loved it. Like I said, this movie was great on so many levels, but as its own movie, it's so weird that, not to get into Star Wars, but J.J. Abrams has said of Episode 9 that, he wants to make it its own self-contained movie, and this just, don't worry about that. Let's just make an ending to, the last, 21 movies in the last 10 years where Star Wars is like, well, we still gotta make now. Just give us the best ending it could with Star Wars, but... Let's move on from that topic.
Right. Now, this is going to make me sound heartless again. But one way they could have trimmed some time off of this extra long movie event, Spectacular, was to get rid of the scene where Iron Man talks to his dad. I know a lot of people liked this scene and thought it was really great. And I found it unnecessary because I thought in Iron Man 2 he resolved his dad issues. I was like, because in Civil War he was totally cut up about Winter Soldier killing his dad because he loved his parents deeply.
I like the scene, but it's like, well,
it
feels like it does get resolved. And
I really thought he had come to terms with the fact that his dad did love him, and we had to go back and see his dad getting ready to go on a date with his mom.
Yeah, and I think it's they were kind of going for a little ironic twist that he was asking Tony for advice on how to be a father when So I get it, but it was I guess the whole idea there was to set up the two, going back to 1970, was to set up that Steve was eventually going to go to Peggy Carter, and that, Iron Man was going to make the sacrifice he did for his family, I guess, is what they were going. Why, they decided.
I get what they were
Well, I
going
know.
for. I'm just saying, I didn't feel it was an entirely necessary scene to be in the movie. That the movie would have been okay without it, and it could have trimmed down the runtime a wee bit.
A wee bit, yeah.
A wee bit.
All right, now we'll talk a little bit about the pacing of the movie, and I mentioned this in my non-spoiler review that I thought it did feel a bit long, and I know people were like, no, it didn't. It felt, I don't know. To me, the first third of the movie is very drawn out. Not in a bad way. I enjoyed it, but it does feel a bit long to me.
I can agree that the pacing just kind of was all over the board in some respects. The beginning felt really fast because, we got to find Thanos. We felt important. Everything felt like it needed to be done immediately and right now. And they did it. And then we immediately hit this slow where they had to show us how the world has progressed.
Yeah, which is, it's not a bad thing.
It's necessary information, but they didn't present it in the most interesting way to make it feel like things were needing a resolve. The momentum slowed down so much.
Especially in comparison to Infinity War, which is just opens up with big fight with Thanos and Hulk, and there's never a moment where that movie lets up. That movie just goes the entire time.
Exactly, it goes the entire time. And then we have to go through figuring out time travel, explaining time travel, then going back in time. There was a lot to be done in the movie, hence why it's 3 hours long. But I feel like somewhere in all of these explanations in the center here is we just needed to cut some stuff out. I mentioned cutting out that Iron Man and his dad scene because I'm a heartless individual.
Yep.
We
established
that.
Yes.
They also could have cut down on Professor Hulk time travel theories with the whole Ant-Man, let's send you back in time and have old man, young you, somebody peed your pants. They didn't need that at all. They could have went to recruit Hulk. Oh, hey Hulk, we're gonna need some help with this. Then cut to him maybe tinkering around, and they're like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing, and then have the next scene. We know Tony's figured out and he's rolling up to help. There's just instances where I'm like, I get that you're still trying to keep jokes in here, still trying to be funny, and it's entertaining and all, but there's just some things you need to cut out for the sake of the audience.
Yeah. Like I tried to say in my initial review, like if you're not very familiar with the MCU, there's probably points in this movie where you're like either bored or just don't understand what's going on at all. And as I said, it's kind of on the viewer because they're not making any secrets. They're calling the movie Endgame because this is the end of their phase of the MCU. So if you haven't seen it, that is on you. I'm not saying it's not, but there are going to be a lot of people who probably watch this movie and go, huh?
Right.
All right, let's start to wind this down. This is probably already close to a half hour. So if you're still with us, hey, thanks. How about standout fight? What did you enjoy the most about that end brawl? Captain Marvel showing up? You can say it. I'm kidding. She didn't. Give me that look.
Well, that's because you're misinterpreting the question that's written on the piece of paper.
Oh.
It says...
We have notes, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted us to have some sort of a forum. It's your standout fight against Thanos.
Cap, Iron Man, and...
So that's your favorite matchup?
Thor.
Okay, why?
Or Jake Odinson. Why? Just because it was the original three. Those are your big three right there. And I enjoyed Captain America lifting Mjolnir. I had no problems with that.
Actually, my favorite fight of somebody versus Thanos is Scarlet Witch. Because she was
whooping him, yeah.
She would have won. She was gonna take him. I loved the fight, and she's like, "Yeah, you took everything from me." He's like, "I don't even know you. You will."
I enjoyed that. Like that was one of the better.
He was actually gonna lose. He was so getting his butt kicked,
and
to the extent that he had to turn and fire the guns on his own people because she would have beaten him.
And let me just say why that works is because, like you said, Scarlet Witch has stakes in the fight. She has a reason to hate Thanos, whereas Captain Marvel shows him just, I hate Thanos, let's go get him. Nobody cares. You haven't had any sort of interaction with him. And so that's why I thought the Scarlet Witch fight was great. That might even be better than the other three if it's not.
I think it was my favorite fight versus Thanos just because you could feel her anger. You could feel her emotion. You could just feel exactly what she needed to have happen there. And it was perfect. Not saying Cap didn't have a bunch of emotion in his fight, and it was very visually
But she had one of the most
pleasing,
reasons to personally hate Thanos.
Oh, personally, she was not a happy camper.
No.
Even that scene she shared at the end with Hulk, and Hulk says, Professor Banner says, I tried. I tried to bring them back, and she goes, I know. It was sad. It was It was
There was
very, very
a
sad.
lot of. I mean, there were a lot of tear shed in this movie by a lot of people.
Yeah, Thor was crying like a baby the whole time. I was like, "Do you need a tissue?
You mean Jake?
Can you keep it down?"
There's Jake Odinson. Thor was not in this movie.
No, I was talking about you.
Fair enough.
Not just Jake
Fair
on screen
enough.
crying.
Yes. Thor in his seat was crying. That's a good movie.
It's a good movie. All
You got anything else to?
Yeah, let's move on to the score.
Oh, there was a score in this movie? I only
Yeah.
recognize things reused from Infinity War.
Most of the music I felt was reused. I mean, the whole Vormir scene was literally
Was the
the
same,
exact score. I mean, I'm going to go and find it on iTunes or something later and listen to it.
You do like your...
I do
Yep,
like,
I know.
I love movie scores. Love them so much. Yeah, so now that I've seen the movie, I'm going to go and look it up on iTunes, which we are not sponsored by. But we
But
would
we should be.
Sailor Moon, now sponsored by iTunes.
Yeah.
No, all jokes aside. No, I love listening to movie scores, and I usually, because just the sound of music can take you, anywhere. I mean, we were
Hills Are Alive
I'll
with
never
the
forget
sound
that
of
we were in a
music.
bookstore, and
Oh,
they're playing movie
why?
soundtracks, and you come over to me and you go, I know this song. What is this from? I know this. And it was the theme song to Neverending
Neverending Story,
Stories.
yeah.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, but I listened to it. I thought for a second. I remembered how great the movie was, how it made me feel, and that's why the score is important. So rehashing a score like this, it was a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, this is a big movie. We needed new
Biggest
music.
movie of all time.
Why couldn't we have a theme for Black Widow's falling? I think we needed it. I think she was owed that. I think the scene with Black Widow and Hawkeye deserved its own score.
I think her death got brushed over. I mean, granted, Iron Man, in the grand scheme of things, yes, is a bigger character overall. He's had his own movies, he's had all this, but it's like the whole ending is like this funeral for Iron Man, and the very last sound of the movie is the tinkering of Iron. We have all this for Iron Man. It's like,
Right.
what about Black Widow?
Your post-credit end scene was really an auditory.
Yeah.
It was just hearing him.
I feel like she
workshop,
died, and
yeah.
it's like, oh, let's move on. Yeah,
She didn't even get her own cinematic score break.
She got nothing. She got very little. Even like Banner was like, oh, like everybody was
Unfortunately,
like, oh,
hearing
she's
that
gone.
score piece only made me think of Gamora. It doesn't make me think of her.
Yeah.
Because it was Gamora's end first. So that disappointed me. That moment needed its breakaway.
Needed something. It needed more.
Its own
They really
soundscape.
kind of glossed over Black Widow's death, I thought, and that's a shame.
I also wish we could have had a bigger Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah,
I know that
a lot of people missed it.
A lot of people missed it. And if you did miss it, we can tell you where it was. It was when they
the
traveled
army
back
base
in
in
time at the
1970.
army base. He drove by and he was a hippie and make peace, not war, something like that. But yeah, that was it.
I mean, I think if they had any inkling what was going to happen, they would have made it more significant. Obviously, they didn't. I mean, it's a shame that his last one was kind of like
Right.
probably one of my least favorite ones.
What would have been nice, just a nice touch, and I know this has got to be on audio files within their stuff. They didn't have to get new anything. They gave us that little auditory at the end where you had
you thought it
Iron
was
Man
gonna
tapping.
be-
I thought for sure the audio end was going to be, because we knew there was an audio end. We didn't know what the post credit was going to be. We knew it was audio. I wanted it to be Stan Lee saying Excelsior. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, that's what. As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, you're probably right. And then it was the Iron Man thing. I'm like, yeah, that's
It would have
fine.
been beautiful.
All right, anything else for those few left?
For those few left. The missed moment, they didn't put the Defenders in.
Ah, yes. Could have just a glimpse of them, the Netflix heroes, if you will.
It was a big battle at the end when they hauled everyone in from all corners to fight this epic endgame battle. I would have really appreciated. I know I've been preaching this one for a
You
while.
have.
I would have appreciated it so much just to have a flash where you see
Even
the
if they were
layout
just
of the
in the
battlefield. Hey, look over there. There's the Defenders. There's Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil. I guess you could throw the Punisher in there, though it doesn't seem like his type of scene.
No,
No, it doesn't.
not at all.
But it would have been nice to recognize them because, I mean, they made references back to the Avengers. It would have just been a nice moment to see a little head nod to go, yeah, there's some Marvel heroes right there.
All right.
No?
Are we on to the final score? You got anything else for us?
Let's see.
That sounds like a no.
I think the Nebula problem still bothers me.
Oh, yes, the one linked up with the one in the past, but the future one wasn't aware
But
of
the
it.
future one had no idea.
That one didn't bother me as much as it bothered you.
No, but even more what bothered me is we know that the Nebula from the parallel Nebula, I'm going to call her Young Nebula. So Young Nebula steals the stuff and goes to the future. And she's in the future now. But it's okay because she stole the gold headpieces, and that means nobody will know it's not her.
Yeah,
she and Rocket were close.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Robot Hand. The old Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy in the first movie, which took place at the same time where Young Nebula is from, she was falling from Ronan's ship, and Gamora was like, here, I'm going to help you, I'm going to grab your hand. And Nebula lost her hand. She had 2 blue hands. She got rid of a blue hand. From henceforth, she had a silvery robot hand. You see her, old Nebula, use her silvery robot hand to grab the Power Stone out. But yet, when she traveled back, when Young Nebula took her place and traveled back in time, no one noticed. Not even her friend Rocket. Nobody noticed this was a different Nebula.
I didn't notice.
A Nebula who doesn't belong.
All right, let's wrap this up with a final score on a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Avengers Endgame a solid 9.3.
No one does 9 point. You know what's weird?
It's a solid 9.3.
You know what's weird?
There.
I was gonna say somewhere between a 9 and a 9.5. I'd have to see it again to give a final score. I've only seen it once. We'll see it again. I know we will.
Yeah, one of those days where we just have 3 hours with nothing to do.
yeah. I don't know what days those are for me, and you have a busy schedule as well. But I'll go for right now. I'll go 9.5. I will. I'll give it the bum. I really loved it. I loved it, despite some things with it that.
Yeah, we may have discussed some of the problems that were in the movie, but that doesn't mean we didn't love the movie.
Exactly. Okay, I love the movie too.
She did too. She was very sad that we didn't take her to go see it. She's seen all the other ones.
Yeah, multiple times.
She does love Marvel.
All right, well, that's all we got for you this time. If you enjoyed the video, or if you enjoyed the movie, I should say, tell us what you did. Terrible. I don't know. It's been a long time.
If you enjoyed the video, what the movie? Go ahead, leave a comment. How about that? Leave a comment.
Yes, comment below.
Tell Thor what you liked. Tell Thor what you didn't like. Tell him what number 1 through 10 would you give Avengers Endgame? Are you gonna go see it again? Let us know. If you wanna.
Yeah, and if you give it a number, we'll know you watched the whole video, which gets you bonus points.
Bonus points. The points don't mean anything, but you
can't do anything with the points. Just to be clear.
Unredeemable.
All right.
Like Thor. No.
Yes. All right. I'll just close with a thanks for watching, everybody.
See ya.